All right, good evening, everybody. Still kind of close to the start. I'm within the start window, but a little later starting than I wanted. For those of you who didn't see the tweet, I was picking up a book. Today was actually a good day for books. I got two. So I'm going to be a total nerd about this while I start the stream. We've got our quality options, and I don't see any upload problems for now. Um, but I have slowly been accumulating the what is the official title? Handbook of Econometrics. This is Elsiever's Handbooks in Economics series. I've got the 4 volumes of Mathematical Economics, which I think was the first series, and then the second is Econometrics, which is still I don't think there's been any updates to Mathematical Economics, but the Econometrics one has definitely been getting new volumes. It's up to 7A, and I've now completed my set. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8 hardcover books. But some of them get A's and B's. So yeah, those came in today, and then I never took computer. Well, that's not entirely true. I took a little bit of computer science, but I actually wound up TAing a lot more computer science than I ever wound up taking. And so it does mean that there's a few gaps in my knowledge, and they're not necessarily ones like for most of what I do, particularly at work. I don't necessarily need to. I don't need to bring out the big guns, but I've always wanted to learn some of the more, I don't want to say esoteric, but I want to learn some of the stuff that's tough. For those of you, there's a few of you who are either in university or are approaching it. One of the things that I had trouble finding a balance with in university, I did okay on this, but I still wound up not taking some stuff that I wanted to, is you want to do well. You want to have, good grades, and you don't necessarily want to burn yourself out. So I would say we are going to get to Stellaris, but I figure I'll get my chatty bit out of the way because I'm actually kind of tired, and I also want to try and give at least a little bit of runway before doing the disclosure, because if there's nobody in the chat and I disclose the fact that I was given a key for promotional purposes, is that really proactively disclosing? Anyways, so I personally find it very hard to not to recommend more math to people. I think generally people will try to avoid math in university, but it's actually a very useful set of skills to learn, even if you wind up doing something that you don't feel directly relates to that subject. It's a way of thinking, and it's a way of making sure you are studying and bettering yourself that is hard to get in some of the other courses. Although I do think this is definitely not a knock against humanities or anything like that. I did classical studies. I loved classical studies. You want to be a well-rounded individual. But the thing is that math is difficult. There are very, very good mathematicians that I had long conversations with, and they don't like looking at mathematical notation. And these are people who are fellows of the Royal Society. They one was a fellow of the Royal Society. I think there was only one, at least the UK one. I think the Canadian one, there might have been a couple of others, but if that's the kind of knowledge that they have, and they don't like looking at pages of mathematical notation without any exposition, I don't have any hope of going the other way around. But the big thing is that if you're in school and you have tests, there are few things that are going to sort of sharpen your mind and make sure that you knuckle down and really understand this stuff, like having a test to pass. So what I would tend to do is, if it sounded like a boring subject or it sounded like a difficult subject, I would try and take it if I could, because independent study would be more difficult for something like, I don't know, price index theory, which is not exactly the most exciting subject, Whereas if you look at something like economic growth, that's inherently interesting. There's a quote from Robert Lucas that says, once you start thinking about growth, it's difficult to think about anything else. And that's very true. There's specific reasons why he said that, but I'm going to assume most of you don't care. So with that in mind, I picked up the Introduction to Algorithms book, Corman Leiserson, Rivest Stein. It used to be third edition, but the fourth edition just came out. So I've had my eye on this book for a while, but I knew there was a new edition coming out. So I picked that up, but my hours, there's like a 1 hour window between me finishing work and going downtown, and it takes me about an hour to go downtown. So it was really like I kind of had to get it. So that's why I'm late. And yeah, algorithms are just one of these things. I always like to think of so I did like a data structures and algorithms course. And I kind of like to think of it as econometrics for computer science majors. Nobody is like smiling at the end of an econometrics exam. It's tough, it's mathy, it's empirical work. So you got to know it. It's really important, but it's not fun. Like it's fun in its own way, but it's not like, like nobody really likes sitting down grinding out a bunch of like matrices. And I kind of felt the same way about the data structures and algorithms. Now, in fairness, they kind of threw us in the deep end with C++, which I could have used a little more of a ramp up. I think it was too many things that I was learning at once, and I fell into the trouble. The reason why I was talking about the studying thing is that I fell into the trap. That was also where I was doing like a few very difficult math courses, like I don't know if they counted as upper level, but definitely like you've chosen to do math. This is not a prerequisite. We assume that you're mathematically literate, and we're going to treat you like it. So in this case, I think I just kind of took on too many hard courses at once, and as a result, I managed, but I could have done much better. I think is the best way for me to put it. So in any case, that was what I picked up today. Good day for brain food. But unfortunately, I am completely countering that with the fact that I got 2 hours of sleep last night. So I'm definitely gonna have a good night's sleep tonight. But I was really at odds about doing the stream tonight. It's actually one of the reasons why I'm sort of... I know I have my usual talking, but if it sounds like I'm rambling a little bit, I kind of need to get it out of my system and to just kind of switch myself on. I've got a big thing of coffee in front of me. I really don't like calling streams for reasons like that, because there's always going to be another day that I feel tired. But I am really short on sleep. I'm going to do my best to like do a good show and put the give it the full length. But I am going to need some time to just sort of recenter myself, get the fuzz out, particularly because this is an Iron Man playthrough. So if I make too many mistakes, there are big problems. But with all of that in mind, we'll probably review the position just to make sure that I'm not making any obvious mistakes. I think I had a little bit of housekeeping that I was supposed to do. I also don't believe that negative 777. But before I go any further, I will just mention I'm playing a copy of Stellaris Nemesis that I was given for promotional purposes from the developer. And this is continuing on basically since Stellaris first came out, that I was given a copy of the base game and then essentially all of the major DLC, one of the species packs as well. But it's fair to say that I'm basically running Stellaris with all of the DLC, with the exception of the Necroids and the Aquatics species packs. I think it's just those two. And then I bought the Plantoids and Humanoids species packs on my own. But it's fair to say that everything that you're seeing here, with a couple of minor exceptions, is something that was given for the purposes of for promotional purposes from the developer. And while I've been with the game for a while, so I think as far as the statute of limitations is concerned, it's probably a genuine interest that is on display here. I figured I should probably do my, you know, my bit and sorry, do my bit and you know, properly articulate the interest. Okay, so couple of where does the situation we find ourselves in? Actually, you know what? Let's just unpause for a second. They're gonna make me, yeah, they're gonna make me run the whole month for this. So we are doing quite well as far as the war goals are concerned. I believe we actually have everything that we went for. There should be an easy way for me to figure the claims. Should probably make this its own sector. Okay, Homam, we do need to reclaim. Oh, and actually, so okay, yeah, so they are reclaiming a couple of the territories that we wanted. Now, I am doing okay as far as influence is concerned. So if I really wanted, I could throw a few more claims on territories that I want. So actually, I'll explain this a little bit. I made a very conscious decision not to pursue more aggressive claims. So one of the mean things I could do would be to take the Binder system and essentially cut that empire in half. It doesn't have any wormholes or anything like that. They would just have this station which is cut off from the rest of its trade network. The big thing is that I do actually want to turn the Loxongrakva Royal States into a vassal at some point. Essentially, this was an effort to try and sort of humble their military and take as many of the goodies as I could from them, for lack of a better explanation. Like I did want to take a couple of systems off of them just because it'll help me out with the borders. You know, I'll now have the Stellarite Devourer within my own borders. I'll control the choke points. And then the secondary goal for this war would be to try and take out as many of their ships as I possibly could. This is in fact the reason why I invited the Tecarus link. I don't necessarily want to give the Tecarus link any more territories, but in this case here, it was an opportunity for them to sort of throw their ships at the Loxongrakva Royal States and get into a position where, you know, I'm not the one shouldering the burden, because I want to make sure that I have a strong navy so that I'm able to sort of take advantage of that power imbalance, and then hopefully within 10 years we've sort of eclipsed them and we can give them an offer they can't refuse. Basically, we can try and subjugate them. So that was sort of the origin of this war. Now, whether or not it's going to turn out that way is an open question. I would, you know, obviously we're going to need to sort of heal up for a little bit, get my fleet back into fighting shape. It does look like these guys are going to be making a move on us, although they could also just be sitting still. As far as this navy is concerned, I believe it's going to be heading oh no, it's going to be heading north. Okay. In any case, I've kind of got two navies that I want to take out, and I've only got one big sort of Doom fleet ready to go. So what I'm going to do here, I might split the attention at some point, but what I want to do before anything is heal all of these up, and then we can make our move on the enemy. My ideal would be to take them as a big group and just sweep them all aside. But the other consideration I have is that I also want to make sure that the Tecarus link isn't sort of swooping in and claiming some systems out from underneath me. That would not be ideal. Now, before we go too far on the path, let's just take a second here. Oh, actually, I'm also going to need to get my notepad out because I think I had some ships in reserve. Let's deal with the employment situation. So some unity would be kind of helpful, but it does depend on how many rare crystals I have. So this is a unification center. This is actually one where it would make sense to spend the crystals. So, and what species is it? Okay, it's... These guys are actually intelligent, so if we have a chance to move them onto a tech world... Okay, so yeah, before I go too much further, sorry for the delay, but I'm going to take a minute here and find my notebook just to make sure that I've got my fleets where I want them to be. Sorry, I just got a message that I need to deal with. I will be back in just one more second. Conan's and Olaf. Sorry about that. There better be dino taming in this or you're out. This is Age of Wonders Planetfall. I would actually be able to make you make you really happy, but this isn't. So yeah, sorry about that. I went to get my my notepad that I saw a note from my bank looking for verification. So I was like, is somebody trying to activate my card? Nothing that sinister, but obviously the sort of thing I want to keep on top of. Very happy to see all of you. I do apologize for the. I said this in the introduction. I mean, I gave a ridiculously long introduction to this one. I only got 2 hours of sleep last night, and I'm feeling it. So I tried to give myself a little bit of a perk. I do have some coffee in front of me, but overall, I'm feeling a little, little off, let's say. So I need to, I need to try and keep it together, but. You will have to forgive me if I sort of stumble over myself or otherwise have difficulty being coherent because, well, it's I kind of blew it as far as my my sleep is concerned. So it looks like I've got a couple of different fleet designs. I'm erasing all of my notes here, and I'm gonna take another approach. So. I haven't done anything special as far as fleet composition is concerned. It's still the same story here. So we're up to 34 corvettes. Actually, I think I know how I did the note before, but I want to write it differently anyway. 17 destroyers. 9 cruisers. 5 battleships. And 1 Titan. And that's at least for the ones where we can do that. The drawback, of course, is that we have a limit on the number of Titans that we can build, and so for some of the other fleets, we'll treat them differently. So, for instance, the Dukara Void Skulkers. In this case, we go for 38 corvettes, 19 destroyers, 9 cruisers, and 6 battleships. So one of the basically the way that this is working right now is I'm just taking the number of command points and dividing them either among 4 for the fleets that don't get Titans or among 5 for the fleets that do get the Titan, except that I'm not really dividing the Titan into it. So it's fleet cap minus the Titan cost divided by 4. So it's a bit of a weird way of doing all of these things. But we've had a couple of encounters, particularly one where we really overdid it as far as the trying to take on too many things at once. One fleet kind of went ahead of everyone. Actually, I seem to recall I misread how the group was moving. I thought it was a group as opposed to one of the fleets. So we've got quite a bit of a replacement to do. And one of the things I'm struggling with is just keeping on top of which fleets need what. So I'm going to be doing a quick inventory just of things that I need. I usually kind of write down these sorts of notes as I'm playing the game, but I think some of my notes were out of date, and I just want to get that out of the way right now. And I'm going to start with battleships and move down to corvettes. So at least 1 battleship, 2 cruisers, potentially 7 destroyers, but I think we've got a surplus of those. And 4 corvettes. Okay. I'm a little surprised to see 17 destroyers there, but then again, I think we probably used that one for parts. Okay. This one's actually looking pretty healthy. Okay, so the first question I have is if I can take apart this this fleet, what am I left with? So for instance, in total, I'm going to want to build 5 more battleships. I'm going to want to build 4 more cruisers because I have 1 more cruiser than I need for this fleet. I'm going to want, what is it, 27, 34, 37 destroyers. And then 31, I think it is. Let me just double check that. 4 and 4 is 8. Wait. 13. 13 and 18. Yeah. I don't know why I thought that was different. So one of the questions that I'm faced with right now is do I have enough ships in these in this sort of reserve to be able to rearm my existing fleet? So for instance, I do have enough battleships to be able to rearm the other 3 fleets. I do have enough cruisers to be able to rearm them. I definitely don't have enough destroyers. I could use up all of the destroyers and I'd still be short. And then corvettes, I definitely have enough. So what we're going to do, for starters, is we're actually going to hive off the ships that we need. So that's 3 battleships. 5 cruisers. All the destroyers, and then 13 corvettes. Okay, so basically this fleet winds up, we'll also make sure we've got the right. Got to be leading the right group. So this group here is going to unite itself with the main force. Maybe put them into Takvan just to make sure that they don't wind up sort of careening into an enemy fleet somewhere. But overall, we're good. So the next thing I want to do is make sure that we've got the replacements on the way. So one thing we definitely have a shortfall of is the destroyers. Oh, looks like we're actually building a bunch of these already. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3 battleships. Okay. Okay, don't need any more cruisers. 3 destroyers. That's a start. Right, we've used up all the alloys. Okay, so realistically we need 2 more battleships, 34 destroyers, and 31 corvettes to get us to get this this fleet back up to strength. But again, most of that effort is going to be spent kind of in the homeworld rather than trying to reinforce them on the battlefield. Sorry, I'm going to have more coffee. Again, that probably wouldn't have required half an hour to figure out, but I'm tired. Alright, what's the deal here with the science ship? I think we were originally going to go looking for some debris. I think right now we're just trying to keep this guy alive. And where is the army? Okay, yeah, so we're in fair shape. And there goes the quality of sleep. Yeah, well, I wanted to get a stream in. So it's an unnecessarily large coffee, so I think I really only have myself to blame for what's going to happen. I'm debating about whether or not I just want to throw caution into the wind as far as expansion is concerned. For starters, let's just deal with the living metal. I didn't realize that we had researched that already. Ah, you know how to make a guy feel good. Thank you, Conans. Okay, yeah, so the first thing I want to do, we'll definitely heal these guys up, but I want to see what the AI does. So I'm going to take a quick look at this fleet. So they're staying put there. These guys are definitely making a move. So my intention is to repair as much as we can in this sector. Doesn't look like we're actually repairing right now. I'm assuming this is because the station isn't ready to go. Okay. I'll wait till they move. Okay, so they're moving. I'm gonna head after them. And looks like we are in the black, so... So my preference definitely would have been to heal up a little bit more, but this is a chance for us to inflict a really big hit on two of their biggest fleets. Ooh, this is going to be a tough one. The unprotected trade route that passes through the Torville system has attracted the attention of a roving band of pirates. These outlaws have gathered a sizable fleet that is intercepting much of the system's trade. So that is definitely going to be tough to deal with. This fleet's actually already on its way. This one... Okay, I don't feel good about it, but we are going to send... we kind of need all hands on deck at this point, so... What I am curious about, though, is...
Station under attack.
This... fight. So I'm assuming we're going to have to lose some ships, but how much we lose is a big question. Okay. So, Jesus, we lost 5 more destroyers. So that's 2 corvettes and 5 destroyers. So we did a pretty decent little beat 'em up, but it wasn't enough to kill those fleets. So while we're at it, I'm just going to take a second to... So I'm in a nice little position here where I can reclaim some of these areas. Oh, actually...
Planetary exploitation forecast complete. Hostile station engaged.
Oh, this makes me mad. So the Stellaris are probably gonna sneak this one out from under me. Okay, but it's only we've claimed it. Okay, cool. That still counts. So the name of the game now. Apparently we can't achieve our war goals yet. That's a little surprising. So we're demanding unoccupied systems and unoccupied planets. So normally I look for the little spikes here to see... So by my reasoning, we're fine. It's probably the Stellaris holdings that... that they're holding out for, which is fine because that just means that we get to beat up the like we just get to obliterate their navy even more. But this is definitely a point where I want to run, like I want to run or bleed them out. I don't necessarily want to go hunting for their systems anymore. Yeah, so it's exactly the fact that the Stellaris would be asking for other things. Again, we can go status quo, but I definitely don't want to do that. Looks like they're actually trying to take this system. And these guys stop dead in the water. What gives? So presumably they're going to think twice. They may actually attack, which is not terrible for us because they've got 4 battleships Oh, sorry. Yeah, 4 battleships coming in, and we've got 3. Oh, that's funny. So the Techers are going to get beat up over this. I'm actually okay with that. Gives me a chance to heal up a little bit. Yeah, so they're scampering off.
Wow, we really hit this tech out of the ballpark.
Establishing new standards for how we design and construct massive battleships greatly improves the speed at which they can be assembled. Okay. I might go for the whirlwind missiles because we know it's a tech that our enemies have. No, Gauss Cannon is a cheaper tech. Okay, yeah, they're gonna do their patrol and then they'll be back. Okay, I still need to figure out what I want to do with Zygar. I think I had a plan. Mind you, we've got more than enough as far as jobs are concerned, so maybe I just cool it for a little while. I am, however, going to build more ships. So, 2 battleships accounted for. I probably should be building destroyers, but battleships do take a while, so... Okay, no cruisers. Let's start working on those destroyers. 1, alright. I could do some pocket corvettes, but I'll just leave them be. So again, we're going to let them mess around a bit for the time being, just so I can...
They're coming for our starbase.
Just so I can repair. I am interested in seeing what direction they go. Okay, cool. So we're definitely going to be able to... We're definitely going to be able to handle them. But I would rather have a fully repaired fleet to take care of them rather than go with my leftovers. Continued advancements in technology allow our most developed planets to reach productivity levels unheard of in earlier times. All right, tracking implants is probably Zero. It's an old one that we probably should have got a while ago. They're heading north. Okay, so this is good. I think we are at full strength with these guys. So... I think in this case we're actually just going to go straight for these guys for a start. So it means that we're going to have to give up... we're going to have to give this up again, but that's fine. The intention is to... I want to knock this fleet out. So then we come back to repair. We shouldn't have lost any ships off of that. Yep. Then again, neither did they, so... So this is going to be the chance for us to unite the 2 fleets, assuming that they don't get too clever. Okay, they're pushing pretty hard on this. So we do actually outnumber them tech-wise. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to move around the edges. Okay. We're close, but not fully repaired. Better for me to get the science ship out of here.
We've got to shake those hostiles.
Ah, crap. They went such a I was moving them into the safety, and then they changed paths.
Science ship destroyed.
Oh,
That's
God
coming out of the
damn
nerd
it.
budget.
Yeah. That's actually the thing I'd kind of like to see changed, to be honest. Like, we were already on an escape path, and they decided to go straight through. I mean, we might have gotten caught anyway, but that was a pretty clear move into danger. I don't know what trait that scientist had, but that was a completely unnecessary loss. Okay, we're still on unyielding, so we already went down the fortress doctrine. Went down the path to lead us to fortress doctrine. So now we're going to go to unyielding. Resistance is frugal. Our people take great comfort in the strength of the bulwarks that guard our planets and view them as vital to ensuring a more prosperous future. So stronghold buildings now produce 3 unity. In addition, defense army health is increased by 25%. Definitely the unity is the reason why I like this particular tech. And at this point here, if we don't, like, if there is anything in my empire that isn't taking advantage of a stronghold, I should be putting that in. So again, we're willing to. So you can kind of see what I was going to do with the science ship. We want to avoid the fight here. Not necessarily because we don't think we can take them on. Oh, actually, it looks like they're heading off, so we'll see if we can catch them. So if it looks like they're about to go into the next system, I will send this fleet to fight, just to hold them in position. Okay, well, that happened a little sooner than I was expecting, so we're gonna suffer some losses here, sadly. Yeah, so that's one destroyer, the one ship I couldn't afford to get, I couldn't afford to lose.
Boom! We built something.
Okay. Ooh, that was 3 destroyers and 2 corvettes. Okay, so I could have handled that better, but so I should figure this out. It was 34 plus 7, so we're up to 41 destroyers and 31 plus 4, so 35 corvettes. Do we really need 2 more battleships? I'm pretty sure I built those. Or, well, I queued those. I should have my replacement science ship. Okay, so this is gonna involve a little bit of trading. So the ideal fleet is 5 battleships and 9 cruisers, 17 destroyers, 34 corvettes. So let's leave the destroyers. Actually, you know what? We'll take the destroyers and put them in this fleet because it doesn't have any. Yeah, okay, here's what we're gonna do. So 1 battleship, 2 cruisers, all the destroyers. Okay. We'll combine these. Battleship, cruiser. What gives? Yeah, so it more or less fits. So we'll claim the territories again. We'll heal up, and then we can start thinking about what we're going to do with the
Resource scan complete.
the remaining areas. Just making sure we don't lose any ships while we do that. I might even be tempted to try and do an upgrade to the latest. Oh, hello! Scum and villainy on Zygar Prime. Crime continues to be a problem on Zygar Prime, and an extensive criminal underworld has now taken root on the planet. Some areas have descended into lawlessness or have been taken over completely by criminal organizations. I did not think that we were going to have to deal with that ourselves. So, this is a mining world. I am okay taking a hit to crack down on crime. And I'm not worrying about the extra cost to naval capacity. That just means I need to pay a little more money, which takes a lot to make me cry. Okay, I don't know what law just passed. This is the enemy of my enemy. I will support minor military sanctions. That just means the council gets more power. Still not sure how I feel about banning the organic slave trade. Wow, we went through that queue really quick. Okay, that's 13. So 28 more destroyers when the time comes. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking an extra region just to be able to you know, have a little bit of a buffer if we need to do an emergency like settle status quo. But my hope is here that the Stellaris is going to be doing the heavy lifting as far as the enemy fleets are concerned for the next little while.
Wow, we really hit this tech out of the ballpark.
An extremely rare aerosol of exotic particles. This has been deposited on a number of worlds through meteor impacts, but its true origin is a mystery. Or so it was until we... the event that reveals the Zro... this was wild. I really liked listening to reading that one. Is a mystery. If ingested by psionically gifted individuals, Zro acts as a very potent and addictive drug that enhances psi abilities. Okay, so we're going to continue on with the path of going for the least expensive of the tech options. In this case, naval capacity actually wouldn't hurt. Actually, building slots would also be a good option. The row must flow. How you doing, Montira? Out of curiosity, this may not be the right way for me to ask this, but does anyone in chat not know the origin of Zro? I'm happy to share it, but it is actually the end of one of the precursor... you find out where Zro comes from at the end of one of the precursor event chains, and it's a wild ride. It's actually really fun. Okay, we're down to 22 destroyers. Well, we need 22 destroyers. 21.
This tech had better generate some revenue.
Alright, we've got the Gauss Cannon. This updated version of the old coil gun design is even more destructive than the latest railgun designs. It is capable of launching projectiles with incredible accuracy and speed. I can't remember, Olaf. Do you ever play Stellaris on your own? I figure it's one of those things that you can like lord over Ari that you know how to do. Sorry, this game is for smart people. I figure if there's another debris to research, we'll finish researching the debris before we research the whirlwind mission. You've been meaning to? Oh, cool. It's a good one. I mean, obviously, I've been playing it since the start. It's one that occasionally, like, I do kind of feel like I need to get my groove back as far as like really feeling like I've got a strong grip on the game. But honestly, I like that this game more than any of the other Paradox games. I feel like I don't have to be like white knuckling the whole time to get through it. It's definitely one where I can sometimes just enjoy, like I say, I play this game like it's a role-playing game. And I like the fact that it's accommodating enough to that style of play that I don't need to feel like I'm just constantly under siege. But obviously, like I would kind of like to go back to the point where like I'm playing on some more difficult, higher difficulties and like really showing the AI what for. But then I'd also really like to learn Hearts of Iron 4. I've done a couple of playthroughs now, like where I try playing France or Japan, and like I feel like I'm setting myself up for, an inevitable conflict. And then when the time comes for the actual war, I might even be able to hold my own for a little while until everything just falls apart. And the problem that I have with that is, like, the error clearly is several months, if not years before, in terms of my plans. But because I'm still finding my feet, it's hard to be able to say, oh, okay, this is clearly the spot where I made the error. For like Crusader Kings 2, or Stellaris, or Imperator Rome. For those games, I sort of felt that I had enough feedback so that when I made a mistake, I would be able to learn from it. And in the case of Hearts of Iron 4, I feel like it's one where I've spent quite a bit of time playing the game, and things have clearly fallen apart on me, but I'm sort of scratching my head in terms of saying, I'm not 100% sure what I would do differently to avoid that outcome. And I know, like, there's the option, you go online and you can read other people's guides, or, like, there's a lot of... I think the one complaint I have about a lot of teaching for these kinds of games is that people will tell you, like, their strategy to win. So, like, if somebody says, okay, if you're playing this country, you need to build 20 units of infantry, and you need to, like, have this many units, this is the division template that you need to use, and you can't go for any other division template. Any other division template is bad. And that may be true. Like, it may actually be that the game's really set in its ways and that you need to follow a certain template. But the challenge is that, it's like the old saying, if you build a man a fire, keep them warm for a day, and if you set a man on fire, you keep them warm for life. I don't really respond well to that because I just become a fleshy implementation of somebody else's algorithm for winning, Hearts of Iron. And I don't really want to win Hearts of Iron. I want to feel like I have some mastery over the game and that I'm making decisions. And this is funny because I actually don't play multiplayer on it, which is obviously where you'd really benefit from having a deeper understanding of how the game works. And this isn't even necessarily a knock against Hearts of Iron 4, because I actually think they put a lot of effort into making the game comprehensible, but I did find the tutorial a bit thin in terms of telling me what I needed to know to make good decisions as like a major power. So like if I was to play as Germany, like the Second World War may not even happen. In the case of, I don't know, like a minor nation, I'm sort of relying on the AI to behave in a good way because I'm not actually going to really be able to affect the war on my own. But again, either I'll find a guide or I'll spend some quality time with the wiki or the game and learn better. There's just other things to play. Like I'd really like to do some time in Distant Worlds universe to learn it. Okay, let me get some destroyers. So that was 3. So we're down to 18. And again, looks like the Techaris are really having a field day with the bad
Planetary
guys.
exploitation forecast complete.
Okay, so my view on this, it would be obviously it'd be nice to have like the full capacity, navies and all of that. Like obviously we could definitely do with some more destroyers, but in this case we're going to be going up against some fairly weak targets. So I think what I'm going to do here, I'm going to mop up the last few zones in this region. And part of this is just making sure that the AI doesn't have any ports to put its navies after they get defeated. Looking forward to a hardcore Hello Kitty Island playthrough. You will see a hardcore No Man's Sky playthrough. Or actually, there might be a hardcore mode for No Man's Sky now that I think of it. I was actually looking up No Man's Sky because, so first of all, this might rub a few people the wrong way. What I'm about to say, and if you want me to unpack it a little bit, I'll do my best. But I think one of my leading indicators for somebody not being very interesting in a chat is whenever No Man's Sky comes up and somebody says something to the lines of like, well, it's good that they, that they stuck with the game, but like, I'm never going to support that developer because they lied. Like, every time No Man's Sky comes up in a chat, there's some guy who said, it doesn't even matter if, if the conversation is not about the hype surrounding the game, because most of the time the conversation is not about that. But like inevitably, there's going to be one person in the chat who's saying that. And it also, equally inevitably, it winds up being the person in the chat who has the types of gaming opinions that I could tell you, like just from that line on its own, I could tell you every other opinion that they have. Like, the engine that Bethesda uses is like old and rickety and they shouldn't be using it anymore, and they were total idiots for making Fallout 76. And, the Epic Store is the worst thing ever, and, sometimes they call Tim Sweeney Tim Swine, because, like, obviously that is what serious people do when they're talking about serious things. They call people, like, playground names. Or, like, Grand Theft Auto 5 is like old, and like Rockstar should be making Grand Theft Auto 6 as if they weren't, and not milking the franchise too much, right? Like, these are just opinions that you always hear, usually from people you don't actually want to hear them from, and stating one sort of means that the person holds all of the other ones. Now, I suppose there's like a conversation to be had about the hype surrounding No Man's Sky and all of that. But inevitably, whenever that happens, I've not played that much of the game. I now own it. But the more I look at it, like, the more I'm really impressed by the tech. And I actually have some thoughts in terms of the game's relation to older games. Maybe I can, like, if I play No Man's Sky on stream, maybe that'd be the more appropriate time to talk about it. But like, I do actually have some thoughts. Yeah, Montero, like, I'm not even really thinking about anybody here. I'm thinking more about the dynamics of Twitch chat. But on the chance that somebody has something like that and feels like they've been hard done by in terms of my portrayal of them, like, I just kind of want to own that I was kind of rude in that, and that there might be someone who genuinely thinks that stuff, and like, I want to at least give them a chance to sort of air the disagreement, or to say that I was a bit of a jackass to say that. Like, that's all I really wanted to say there. Yeah, I don't know. Like, for some reason, every time No Man's Sky comes up, like, it's always that opinion. It's never, oh, what a good thing, even though everybody was like really ripping into them. they stuck with their game. Because the thing about No Man's Sky was then, like, when No Man's Sky came out, I think the relevant comparisons would have been like Far Cry Primal, and there was another big release. But like, I think the peak concurrent players for Far Cry Primal was something like 12,000 players. The peak concurrent for No Man's Sky was something like 120,000, like 10 times what the other major release was. And that's not just an opening bump. That was actually, like, it was still tens of thousands of people who were playing that game all the while, when people were talking about what a failure it was and how Hello Games should, like, be boycotted forever. So the thing is, I think it always just kind of comes down to how silly some of these boycotts are, right? Like, apparently, like, whether or not Hello Games abandoned their release, or, I mean, I actually would object to the term abandoned, but like, whether Hello Games made no further changes to No Man's Sky or continued to develop it like history bore out, that person's reaction is the same. That they will never buy a Hello Games game. I mean, I'm not entirely sure they were running out and buying, what was their other game? It was like a stuntman. You know what? I actually want to know the name of that game. It's like Joe Danger, I think. Yep, Joe Danger. And Joe Danger 2. Like, it's not like I think these people were rushing out to buy, like, Joe Danger. And, like, The Last Campfire is the new thing that they came out with. It's like, it's a meaningless boycott, in the case of those people. But the thing is that, like, what behaviors are you incentivizing, right? Like, if they're doing the thing that you think is good, but you're still saying, but I'll never buy a game from them again. It's like, well, you know, I suppose, you know, so much the worse for them. Like, there was nothing they could have done to make it right. I mean, obviously I can't tell people what they can buy, but that just seems like a really weird incentive structure to give someone. And more importantly too, right? Like, I just think there's a general rhetoric in gaming sometimes where, like, people will say, and maybe it's just not gaming, maybe it's more in general, but there just kind of seems to be this tendency where people will say, oh, hey, I like X. And there's always that, like, one guy who's like, X sucks. You know, it's not enough to just, like, sit there and enjoy the thing, right? You know, you got to let people know that you don't like that thing that person likes, you know. There's lots of stuff that people mention that I don't personally care for. I don't really feel a need to share that I dislike it. If somebody asks my opinion on it, I'm not necessarily going to hide it, but I just don't see the need to kind of crap on something that someone's interested in. So, to be honest, developing really good games is hard, especially when your new game is being held up against a mature game with multiple DLC cycles in the books. That's how you get games like Crusader Kings 3 that are good, but just feel empty and get knocked for that. Yeah, or better still, Imperator Rome, because people had really high expectations for that. I genuinely enjoyed that game when I played it. Now, you know, I'm also very easy to please, so I'm willing to accept that maybe I had a blind spot on that particular game and that there were genuine problems with the game when it first came out. But yeah, no, you've absolutely hit the nail on the head, which is that Paradox's whole business model is to give very long-term support to their games paid through DLC. And, you know, when Imperator Rome came out, you've got, in terms of, like, their modern, like, really reaching out to audiences, you've got Crusader Kings 2, which was basically at the end of its life. I don't think CK3 had been released. No, CK3 had definitely not been released then. So you had Crusader Kings 2, which I think had all of the DLC it was ever going to have, or at least it was really close to it. You've got Europa Universalis 4, which has obviously been running into its own problems in terms of quality, but we'll leave that aside. You get Hearts of Iron 4, which, you know, had probably had a couple of good years of DLC. You know, they'd added the oil and all of that. So these are very, and then of course Stellaris, which, you know, that was definitely responsible for bringing a lot of other people into Paradox Grand Strategy games. And so people are going in with these expectations of games that have had years of development put into them. And, you know, Paradox is quite understandably, and again, I'm not trying to be an apologist for them here, because I was given a key for Imperator Rome as well. But, you know, what they're doing is they're making the base game, which as far as they're concerned is equivalent to what a CK2 or a Stellaris or a, you know, or a Hearts of Iron was on release. It might even, as far as they were concerned, be even more fully featured than those other games. But that's not, to the audience, that's not the relevant comparison. The relevant comparison for them, you know, and again, whether or not that's a reasonable expectation, is something that has been supported for several years, including like looking at the telemetry for the players and seeing how they're reacting. Like there was a complete rethink of how Hearts of Iron 4's DLC was working as soon as they found out that the majority of players actually liked playing alternate histories rather than, you know, kind of what you sort of normally associate with wargaming, which is just sort of seeing if you can eke out these marginal gains in historical battles. It's like, for those of you who are not familiar with, like tabletop wargaming, and this is definitely of a certain vintage. Like I've not necessarily played these kinds of games, although GMT does publish some of them. I'm talking about tabletop here. Like, for some war games, the goal is not necessarily to beat the other guy, but sometimes it can be considered a victory to achieve a better outcome than what historically happened. So like if you're playing, like, I don't know, it would be hard to see, like, you know, okay, we're doing the Battle of Thermopylae, haha, surprise, the Spartans won. You know, it's like, no, they're probably going to die, but, you know, can you take down more? Can you hold out for longer? There's a really interesting game called the Peloponnesian War, which is by Mark Herman. And that one you can play, it's actually, I believe, intended to be played solo. And the aim is that you want to end the war as soon as possible. But what happens is at the halfway point of the game, you switch sides. So if you can't achieve an early victory, then you have what actually happens in history, which is this long and protracted war, which, you know, neither side necessarily does very well with. So in the case of the Peloponnesian War, the argument is that it actually does not matter if Athens or Sparta wins. What matters is that you avoid this protracted conflict, which essentially bleeds and impoverishes you know, the ancient Greece, which again is a very different perspective from something like Stellaris, where, you know, if I take a look at the or, you know, even Civilization. I mean, I'm not trying to pick on Stellaris or anything here, but like there's like a ranking here, and if you're not in number 1, you didn't win, right? There's one winner, and right now I'm number 5. I'm actually a little surprised that the Miravandia Imperial Sons is so high, but I think that's because of their their federation. But no, you're absolutely right, Montura, on that perspective. And again, the important thing here is that consumers definitely need to have a voice on this sort of stuff, because we don't get better game. Like, I think it's fair to say that Imperator Rome is a better game now than it was on release. And definitely Stellaris is a better game now. As you say, Stellaris was a very, very different game when it was released compared to what it is now. And I'm sure it will continue to, you know, to change and become a better game. So if we do not, you know, if we don't have if we don't have consumer advocacy, we're not necessarily going to see the improvements from, you know, from the developer. The developer is ultimately going to need to try and take the feedback and, you know, find the most reasonable way to implement it, even when the people speaking are being unreasonable. But again, my view on this is that you want the signal to noise ratio to be pretty high. And so with that in mind, like this is why I really dislike, you know, the lazy dev kind of rhetoric, or like, you know, the really like, you know, kind of brazen, you know, gaming started sucking at the turn of the when the crossing of the millennium. Like, modern games are all concerned about graphics, and they don't care about anything else. That's clearly not true. But there's an entire group of people who will say that, and I'm not sure how you develop for a group like that, because they just seem to be really stuck to that opinion. So unless you like completely remake Quake, they're not going to be happy. Also have to look at how much a company can reasonably spend on testing a game. If you assume a game will sell 100,000 copies and every copy will see 1 hour of gameplay on day one, you need to employ approximately 50 full-time testers for 1 year to get the same game test. Yeah, exactly. Well, and as I said, like in the case of Hearts of Iron 4, they had a DLC roadmap which is completely different from what they wound up doing as soon as they realized that they had misread their player base, that ultimately people wanted historical fiction. Rather than this more traditional kind of wargaming approach, which is to try and hold to history and see how you can sort of improve on the margins. Which, again, by the way, I'm not advocating for one over the other, but my expectation, had I not known that detail from Paradox's change, I might also be overstating it, but if I had not known that detail about Paradox, I would have assumed that the average Hearts of Iron player was actually looking for a pretty, like, essentially a World War II simulation that they would sort of sandbox and mess around in. New miniaturization techniques will allow us to equip swarmer missiles with more powerful warheads and improved flight performance. By the way, apologies to those of you who don't like the system talk. It's going to be a little bit more of that tonight, just because I do tend to get a little chatty. Like, I think it's not just that I get chattier when I'm tired, but I get chattier in a way that I have to like focus on one or the other. Only here for the system talk. Well, that's good. The one thing I kind of regret is I know I do a little bit more sort of in-character discussion or planning, and I haven't really been doing the whole rum runner thing as much with these guys, but that's fine. I mean, the playthrough's not over. I don't actually need to bring the full fleet, but... Oh. Admiral Maxerdock has died at the age of 143. So we'll get a new one. Logistics is tempting, but we've got younger Admiral. Ooh, yeah. Gale Spade or a super... Like, this is basically the same as hiring... what would that be? A 9-year-old Admiral. I think I'm going to go for the Gale Speed one. Thank you, Seamakov. Yeah, I think so too. But I mean, I think what I'm talking about here would be like I have a feeling that there were not as many alternative history paths in the decision trees. So I know you can sort of, like, there's certain weightings for decisions for, like, to go for the more historical mode, but I actually think that some of the DLC were redesigned to accommodate more alternative paths, like embrace, monarchy and democracies and things like that. Again, we can only know this stuff from whatever public comments they make. I don't have, like, an inside track on any of this, but... it does seem to be that was a factor. Trying to decide what I want to do with these ships. We still might be able to loot some tech. So I think I'm going to keep this science ship kicking around. I don't think there's anything else for me to do with my construction ships right now, unless I want to expand. And again, there is a temptation. There's definitely some nice systems in this area. But for now, I got to decide what I want to do with the energy. So whenever I buy up alloys, this always causes a problem because the unit price goes up by so much. But I do need to buy a bunch of destroyers, so... Okay, that's another 6. So we're getting there. So after these destroyers, I still have 35 more corvettes, but we're definitely feeling the pinch on the destroyers. Actually, what I can do now, what are we missing? So 7, 11, so 18, 26. Yeah, we got enough. Yeah, that is the number of destroyers, not the command points. Okay. So the I'm just going to send them off to join the rest of the fleet here. Obviously, this is leaving this fleet a little short, but
Resource scan
they're my backup
complete.
anyway. Oh, I should have brought some corvettes too. How many do we need? 2, 4. Just 4. Obviously, if they get caught out, I'm in trouble. Oh, man. Okay. Minerals are a little bit tougher to work with, but I have some plans. Okay, so we're going to put you on a planet with lots of available work. I'm going to try and go a bit nuts. Okay, so this is a tech world. We had research initiatives and such. We've already got the Betharian power plant. So first question is there a way for me to double down on the science? I think we've already got what we need from that. Oh, stronghold. Okay, Zygar. It's mining world. We've already built the upgrade here. Got the Hollow Theater. Technically, we're shorter on volatile motes. But is that really what I want? Or no, I can just put a galactic stock exchange in and boost the trade value. Also, we've got a rampant crime problem. Oh, that's right, because we keep growing Azazians even though we don't really need any right now. Okay. That's... I mean, there are other worlds where I do want to be growing Azazians, but yeah, we need Raxar at this point. Well, or droids. Okay, that should be helping me with some of the some of the pops problems I was having. You know what? I'm going to put another batch of exotic gas refineries in, just because I have a feeling I'm going to want to double up the tech more than anything. Okay, if you can give me a second here, I'm a little peckish and I got myself a snack, so I'm just going to take a nibble of it and then I'll be able to talk again. Claims. So the Mirovandi Imperial Sons are getting a little uppity. One more destroyer and then we're done.
Planetary exploitation forecast complete.
Well, we bought a little time. Here's an interesting idea. So we can get 0.81 for minerals right now. Let's see if we can actually trade for a better deal. This is shocking. Oh, alloys for I'm an idiot. I thought I was getting an amazing deal. Okay, I mean, not the most favorable trade terms, but something more useful. If we were to do this for energy credits... Oh, wow. This is ridiculous. So yeah, we can flood the market with the cheap stuff. Just because... Actually, I should have gotten 10,000. There we go. Alright, now I gotta figure out what to do with the cash. This is gonna drive up the price again. But I do get my destroyer, so. Okay. 35 Corvettes. I think that's 17 I still need. I wrote down 18 though, so I gotta count them again. Yeah. Okay, so I just need 17 more Corvettes. And we won't be buying alloys for a little while just because it's too expensive. Okay, they're claiming Shorax and Gribben. Let's find out where that is before we go to... Oh, I think that's actually in the L cluster. Nope. Oh, hang on. Yeah. Ah! The dominant crime syndicate on Zygar Prime recently eliminated the last of its competitors and achieved complete control over the planet's extensive criminal underworld. They have long since undermined the real planetary authorities, and the local population now look upon these gangsters as the true rulers of Zygar Prime. Okay, we gotta stomp this out. So, we're gonna go to I'm actually gonna basically look at any worlds where we've got Raxar, like any worlds where there's Raxar workers, like regular workers. I should have done this much sooner. Yeah, so Raxar Clerk, congratulations, you just got a promotion. Alright, so that's already a start. And I'm actually going to wind up... I'm going to do this on a number of worlds. Crap. Okay, it's an Enforcer. Okay, so... Faradex, I should be turning this guy into a actually, we've got a tech world with free jobs, right? Apparently not. So here we'll just replace some of the clerks with... And I'm actually going to do this. I want to take a quick second and see whether or not we have... Okay, so it's a lack of enforcers on worlds where there's crime. So Zygar was definitely one. Okay, Zandaban is another one. Mind you, we're working into that, so I can accept that. Again, this one we're digesting. And Media 3A. Okay. I have a feeling that they're going to be reluctant to... Yeah. Okay, so basically no more Raxari clerks. I should probably just be limiting my attention to the habitats. Yeah, honestly, anything with free jobs is probably not it. Well, we'll see. We'll see how this one turns out. I could prioritize enforcers, but I'm gonna try and avoid that. Now, can I unite my fleets yet? We're getting there. There's going to be a little bit of finessing, but... Again, remembering the goal of this is not just the the conquest, but I want to make sure that we're able to try and vassalize them at the end of the 10 years. Okay, so we're down to 10 corvettes, and then we're at the big number.
Technology acquired.
9. Okay, and we've got our extra building slot. So this is a pretty good one for us, but I am going to have to do some maneuvering again. Okay, so we've got a Vengral. Advances in metallurgy permit us to build vastly larger and more durable structures, greatly improving the infrastructure of our colonies. So the tricky part here... yeah, I don't know where the other one that they want... Again, they're not... The invasion's not coming anytime soon, so I'm not too worried about it. But the... Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Well, let's worry about the tech first, and then I can move back. Tracking implants, I think. Yeah. Actually, it looks like we're okay. Let's deal with the corvettes first. Sorry, I gotta focus on one thing at a time. Again, I apologize. I know I'm not on my A game. But acknowledging my state, I'll focus where I can. Okay, so now I need to carve up this fleet of destroyers. Let's start by getting 7 out. And then 11. Ah! I think I'm actually going to be short again. I'm not quite sure where I miscalculated. Nope, the only mistake was doubting myself. Okay, so this is going to have some implications for the... Oh, wow, we got to go all the way back? Yeah, we're not doing that. Okay, so spike the science ship. We are going to go on some adventures. And again, the aim here is to leave these guys without a functioning navy. Now, the better option is one where the Stellaris are the ones who foot that bill.
Another bleeding-edge technology discovered.
Minor improvements to transmission efficiency add up to a sizable reduction in overall energy loss. I think, yeah, the AI's taken care of that one for me. Now, for some reason, we are behind on energy credits. I think this is just because of the price of alloys. I'm actually going to let this run down for a little bit. And can I get you to... All right. I'm going to move my science ships back home till we can find a better use for them. If they're all just sort of sitting in the... middle of nowhere, I should probably find an alternative. And then this one we're keeping around just because we may make some debris that we want to study. Through hard work and experience, scientist Kashnak has developed new skills. So there's a couple things I should be focusing on as well with regards to consumer goods. Oh, right, I remember now. So there's one dilemma that I've run into with the with that new tech. So we've got a certain number of building slots. The catch is that I don't know. I mean, I guess I can count it out. So so on Gruner, 4 building slots, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So then I've got 2 more through tech. So if I were to... So the big thing, like what I'm trying to do here, if I can, is get rid of city districts and replace them with things like industrial districts or generator districts or other things like that. So this is a factory world, so the ideal would be... So here's a question. If I just keep hitting industrial districts... I mean, so eventually, this thing is going to fall apart. Oh, man. I wish I had a better way of communicating this. So what I'm trying to find out here is how many of these things can I strip away until I... How many things these things can I strip away until it's going to sort of demolish these? I don't suppose... So this is going to be one of these times where I actually ask chat for an opinion or if they know any different. Does anybody know offhand if there's a way that it communicates how many buildings you can support? Because I know there's like the building slots. So here we're getting seven building slots plus 4. There's a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12. So on its own, you would think that I don't have enough. I guess maybe if we get the one for free here. But I'm not quite sure how I would identify one that has too many districts. So 6 and 4 would give me 10. Then up to 12 here. So like this one I can kind of believe once I upgrade the system capital complex, we'd be able to pull one back. But what I'm learning is if I actually try to replace these, it'll let me, and I'm assuming that these things just wind up demolished. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I know this is not the most exciting thing to watch, but I'm going to take a second here and write down some notes on the planet. I'm not going to worry about the... I'm not going to worry about the habitats because the habitats are going to need some other things. In this case, we've got... full. So 5 districts. What would maybe be kind of nice is if it would tell me so like there's a breakdown, like basically most of the time the game's going to give you a breakdown of things that are affecting the planet. So in this particular case, we know that we've got a technology that's boosting the number of building slots that we can have, and we've got more than one. The catch is that I'm not able to see on the planet screen what statuses are affecting the number of buildings I have. Now I can probably go through the tech tree and see that, but if I miss one, then I have kind of a misleading view on the state of the world. So what I'm doing here instead, I'm writing down the different planets that I have. I'm looking at I'm basically looking at the numbers that I see supported here. So in this case, a system capital complex will give us 4 building slots, and city districts will give us 1 building slot each, i.e. 5. So in this case, we're getting 9 building slots. And so it would suggest that we're getting 2 extra ones. What I'm trying to do here is I'm going to get all this information, then I'm going to go to the tech tree. And essentially, I want to see whether or not I can sort of say, okay, my best judgment of the number I should be seeing here is, off the basis of this planet, 2. And if I happen to notice that, the number is 3, well, that either means that I miscounted here, or more likely, I'm probably going to be able to build out 1 extra building on one of these worlds. And again, it's a long way of handling this, but it's how I'm gonna give this one a shot. So this one, for instance, is full. It's got +7 districts, but it still has the system capital complex, which is going to give it 4. So clearly, if I were to have one of 2 worlds, this is the one where I would want to be messing around with the, with the number of districts. So Nadal has 6. It's full and the +4. Kefroth's in sort of a similar position, except that it's got a lot of city districts. So they're sitting on, was it 7? 8. But they're short on the planetary capital, so this one's only going to give them +3. Okay, so Calçoche. Now this is a very useful one for me, right? Because in this case, it's short one, and so this is going to give me, an example where it's like, okay, so ideally you will want to build 1 more city district on this world. So in this case, we've got, it's 4? Yeah. So with that in mind, if we're getting 4 from the system capital complex and we're getting 4 from the city district, and there's 12 here, so that implies that through tech we're getting +3. Which, again, wait, did I get that right? 4 and 4 is 8, 3 is 11, so yeah, we would want 12. So essentially what this means is now I can sort of compare that to my other worlds, and I can probably convert some of those city districts into something a little more useful. I would kind of like some extra verification, so we're gonna just do the exercise a little more fast and loose this time. It'd just be nice if I can get another example. So yeah, this is a great example, like 9 city districts. I don't need that. I've already got enough housing. So crime's already getting knocked down. That's good. And then this one's kind of useful for us here because we know that we've got -4. So we've got 2 right now, and the planetary administration is granting 2. So again, on the hypothesis that we're getting 3 from our technology, that would suggest, what, 3, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, so I got to treat this as a free one. Okay, so with that in mind, so we upgrade this to the complex, so that'll give us another 2. We'd build another 2 city districts. So is it really as low as 4? See, Kelsoch... This is what I get for doing this while I'm tired. Okay, so this had 4 city districts. Yeah, so I think 5 is the ideal number. Based on what I'm seeing here. Again, there might be some other adjustment. So let's say as a trial, 5 city districts. And then special considerations for planets that don't have system capital complexes. So I could turn this into energy, but this is a factory world. So in this case, we've got 7. We convert 2 of these into factories. Well, industrial districts, but... Nadal... So ideally it'd be a tech world, but as an alternative... Okay, well I was going to make it a generator district, but looks like it's industrial district after all. Kefroth... This one had 8, so we're going to cut that back by 3. So this one I would theoretically want to boost the city districts by 1, but... Well, I mean, I am generating a big surplus of agriculture, so I think we can afford to give a little bit back. So, looks like we're going to have a lot of industry coming online. That's pretty good. Although that might hit my, that might actually wind up hitting my, minerals kind of hard. Okay, so this is an ideal setup. And I suppose we might as well just embrace our destiny. That's a little disappointing to see that, but it is a unification center, so we do want to maximize the number of administrative offices. Okay, so we'll see whether or not that actually works. There's a whole other question in terms of what I'm doing with... Okay, actually, let's just deal with these worlds as well. I'll leave the Empire complex for the last. God, this is miserable. I mean, I could just stick a stock market on all of them and call it a day. 60 is not a whole lot of trade to generate, though. I could do a refinery, I suppose. You know what? Oh, hang on. If I build too many stock exchanges, then I need the crystals. Okay, TBD. Looks like we were doing research on this one. Well, I could also do military academies. Ugh. Sorry, I hate that I'm being really indecisive on this. Okay, so we're getting unity from the strongholds. Why not go for science? Same for the capital. We are sort of generating some unity. There's something nice about like a vault of acquisitions for the capital world. How many managers do I have? 4. So this is a unification station. This is actually one where it makes sense to invest in the things that support Unity. So we've already got a corporate culture site down. Vault of Acquisitions is probably the right call here. Calsoch, what the hell was I doing with you? Put a stock market down already. We've got the stronghold. Can make them build some crystals. I can't recall if there's any benefit for the shield generator. Nope, it's purely the benefit to the bombardment damage, which is not nothing, by the way, but we'll do a synthetic crystal plant for now. Okay, Zygar. Research station. Looks like we've already invested in the Research Institute. So we're going to double down on research labs, and we're probably going to build up the research districts. I'm going to leave that for a separate occasion. And I had the impression that I was already working on refining. Okay, I'm gonna live with that for now, and just generally hope that I did not just blow up my empire. We also are actually kind of short on minerals now. Okay, one away. I'm gonna move the fleet where it needs to be rather than... It's just one of them moves a bit faster than the others, so I gotta be careful about that. Okay, so I can always work with a bigger navy, but right now I need to get the naval cap up. So what I'm going to do here now is I'm actually going to start focusing my attention towards upgrading or otherwise building out my my star bases and my defenses. So, for instance, let's just make sure that there's no more citadels to be built. Okay, yeah, so we probably want to save up to build our last batch of citadels, because it's very likely for some of these I'm actually going to turn them into proper anchorages. Like Thrish Station is a fantastic example of this sort of thing. But let's actually just see what we're working with when it comes to our existing buildings, and that's going to mean just saving up some alloys. I'm going to take a quick second here. We're going to get everyone to gather around the edge of the system first. And then once they're all together, then we'll make the move on the... Oh, they're actually already on their way out. So let's anticipate that by moving to Krant. Once they commit to the hyperlane, then we'll make our move ourselves.
Wow, we really hit this tech out of the ballpark.
This is a little A little off topic, but I am a bit curious. If I were to do a game like Endless Legend or Endless Space, is there sufficient interest in something like that? Or is the taste more for sort of the grand strategy, pausable real-time-ish sort of game? I know there was some interest in Distant Worlds universe, and I actually would really like to do that. But I wanted to get a quick, while I had some more strategy-oriented people, I wanted to see if there was a feeling about certain types of strategy game. Okay, better hulls for my battleships. Advances in building techniques allow for the construction of sturdier and more durable battleships. We can do Devastator torpedoes or kinetic artillery. Alternatively, we can give our engineers a boost. I think we'll do the engineering boost first. Alright, that's a little premature, but we'll clobber them. Unfortunately, they didn't lose the battleship. So just keeping an eye, making sure that they're not reclaiming any systems that I really want. But right now, this is just about sort of rolling over them. The Nectraxian Rum Runners is a nation of fools, worthy of nothing but contempt. What does that say about your navy, my friend? Now, my feeling is if the Stellaris can't seal the deal on their own, we probably shouldn't go out of our way to give them a win. So I think as long as we don't give their navy anywhere to hide, I'm okay. I'm okay, like, taking them to 0 and then settling status quo. The agreement we signed giving you access to our databanks has run its course. Would you like to extend it for another 10 standard years, or do your researchers no longer require the information we offer? I would like to extend the deal. We are actually really hurting as far as energy is concerned. It's probably me overdoing it as far as the naval capacity. Oh, and we're also falling behind on food, so we're just gonna make a few adjustments here. Yeah, okay, that's more than enough. So we'll go back to Wither, but this is a chance for me to beat up their navy a bit, so hard to pass up. Having led the Kugel Void Skulkers to victory in the Mestro system, Admiral Treadgick has grown increasingly confident and now refuses to even contemplate the very notion of retreating from future engagements. I'm sure the destroyer pilots will love him for that. Okay, it wouldn't hurt to get a little healing on some of these ships, but let's take advantage of the break to move forward in a system. Remembering we do eventually want to take out the Stellarite Devourer as well. Now, I kind of question the decision about what I'm going to do here. So this is going to be a very expensive fleet to send out. But I would like to protect my trade. So we'll see what this costs me. Again, as long as we're not losing ships, I'm happy. Okay, so we're still in the black. Now, I'm kind of curious if I can do a slightly more elaborate patrol route. So if I could go to Vite, or I guess Isle is sufficient. Well, no, we'll do Vite. So if I could do Vite to Sidar, Sidar to Zygar, that would be best. No, I have to... Oh, no. Okay. We'll see whether or not it actually follows through with that. I don't know if this is going to give me enough protection, but at the very least, I've got a presence covering the area. I also want to take a quick second and see what I'm up to with the new Bale. So, if I'm... Cool. We will colonize it. Oh my god, we are killing it on consumer goods. Okay, Subra habitat. Ah, this is where I start looking for those planets that didn't have full enforcers. So we're gonna have some pretty significant expansion in a little bit. But for the time being, I just want to get some really basic stuff out of the way. Okay, Castor. Well, what's unemployed on Kefroth first? New Bale. Okay. That's a bit of a harder one to deal with. Yeah, so actually, it's very much in our interest if we... so there's one of two things that I can do here. I could... try and go for something like a... well, I mean, Syndicate Front operations would give me the Unity. But I was thinking, like, we could try and go for something that would improve my naval capacity, like the Pirate Free Haven. I thought there was a specific naval-focused one. Boosting the branch office value actually wouldn't be a bad... Okay, here's what I'm going to do. So again, we're making more consumer goods than I'm ever really going to need. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace the drug labs with research, except for one, which is going to be boosting the trade value. Yeah, so we got this one. Am I missing something here? Am I not allowed more than one illicit research lab? That seems a little funny. I mean, maybe I do go for the... Okay, Pirate Free Havens it is. Ah, now this is a worry. This is almost certainly gonna go goody two-shoes on me. We might be able to pull it out of the fire, though. Let's try and get that value up. Okay. Not an ideal situation, but it'll tide me over for now. We also should be making a decent amount as far as the alloys are concerned, so now we can start thinking about upgrading those citadels.
This tech had better generate some revenue.
Tracking implants. Further advancements in the field of subdermal implants can provide detailed information regarding the movements and actions of the implanted. Okay, I think it's pretty obvious we're going to go for the naval capacity unless we can find something cheaper. I should be able to get a handful of these done. I think that's the last. Okay, so I got five to take care of when all is said and done. And yeah, kind of as predicted, our minerals are a little shorter than I would normally want them to be. But the nice thing here, like, so one thing that has very quietly happened over, sorry, the industrial districts came. I'm not sure which. What do you? I don't really need the industrial districts. I need the because I have a big surplus for those. What I was looking for was the research labs. But the big deal right now is that, like, for the first time in a very long time, we're actually we're self-sufficient as far as consumer goods. We're probably on our way to becoming an exporter of them. We did fall behind a little bit on food, but I could live with. But in this case here, we're basically self-sufficient on everything. I'm buying up the alloys because I can. But eventually I might even reevaluate that. For now, though, let's just try and fill our worlds with happy and productive workers. All right, don't know what to do with the industrial station, but if it's a unification station, we should probably be working on. Well, there's a couple things I want to work on. So.
This tech had
Corporate culture
generate some
slight.
revenue.
Vault of acquisitions. And when I build this thing up, we'll probably add fortress. The study of superfluidity promises to marry quantum mechanics with the fundamental interaction of gravity. So again, we go for the cheap tech. In this case, the robot modification points as much as I would like. Oh man, it's a Giga Cannon though. Rules were meant to be broken. So again, we should be oh, nope, looks like the Kugel Void Stalkers lost a destroyer. So for this one, I'm actually going to go for Reinforced Fleet and assume that the game can handle that on its own. In the meantime, I'm going to continue upgrading some citadels. And before too long, I should actually start thinking about these science ships and seeing if I can put them on other worlds. I'm actually going to get all these ships together because we've probably got a fight coming up. A small fight, but still one that I want to keep an eye on. Okay, so these three ships I'm going to send out exploring first. Okay, so there's nothing in the galaxy for them to look at right now. I have neither the time nor inclination to work with these guys right now, but at some point I'm going to need to find some planets to put them on. Okay, integrated gardens. By encouraging our citizens to grow their own food and mandating easy-to-use hydroponic systems, we can reduce our impact on the worlds we live in and enjoy more greenery. So we get a pretty heavy reduction to economy. We get a reduction to consumer goods upkeep, which I'm actually not as worried about anymore. Higher clear blocker time, lower amenities usage, better food better habitability. Okay, so the question here is, if the most comparable powers have stronger economies than me, then I want to approve integrated gardens. And if they do not, if they are weaker economies than me, I not only want to oppose this one, but I want to repeal the measure that's hampering my economy. So my economy is 1626. Theirs is 1784. Theirs is 2709. Okay, so in this case, I'm okay with it. Advanced Xenostudies, observation posts provide. I'm actually kind of indifferent on this one, but I think I'm still behind on tech. Now the important question is the my rivals. So economy, we've eclipsed them. So actually I would probably not want to support that measure. And then tech, we finally eclipse them. Actually, yeah, I like this. Like this in general. Okay. I'm going to abstain from this for now, just so that we can. So here's an interesting idea about how to mess around with the order of things. So let's say I'm like, okay, I really want to see some big, I want to see some big moves as far as my tech benefits, right? So I want to see, so like in this case, I say, I want to see advanced Xenostudies. I want that to be the next one to come up. So first of all, I can do an emergency measure as a council member. But let's say that I'm not a council member. Let's say they change the council size to 2 or something like that. What would I be able to do? Well, one thing I could do right now, I've got the Tianki Conservation Act, the Denouncement, and the Guardian Angels Act. And actually, so why am I supporting this one? Because I think my fleet strength is pretty good. My fleet street, I am possibly the strongest, so in this case we will oppose that measure. So see what happened to the order there now? Oh, thank you very much for the follow, King's Lord. So in this particular case here, Confederation of Zaco is not, we're not on like the unfriendliest terms, but like they are a member of a federation that I'm rivaling with. And I mean, again, you're the Galactic Council. Of course you want to throw your weight around. So the mere fact that I changed my vote on something changes the order in which these measures are being done. And this can mean that if you have something that you want to put forward in the galactic community without having to spend your emergency measure, that I believe also has it used to be an influence cost. It might be a unity cost now. I suspect it would be influence though. If you don't want to, blow that on something that's more trivial for you, what you can do is you can actually withdraw support from certain measures. And you can kind of see how that makes sense, right? Like, actually, for those of you who like British comedies, there's a wonderful film called In the Loop, which is sort of this fictionalized account of the lead up to the Iraq War, the second one. It's based off of or not based, but it's sort of a spin-off of this TV series that they did called In the Loop. Or not In the Loop, sorry, In the Loop is the film. The Thick of It was the TV series. And in that case, there's actually quite a bit, in this case, of moving around at the UN and like trying to drag things up and pushing it forward. Now, again, it's a comedy, so like, don't put too much weight on that in terms of international affairs, but you can kind of get an idea about how okay, actually, here's the better way for me to put it. I am Canadian, but I did do quite a bit of studying of the US political system through political economy, and it's very clear that committees are an incredibly important place because, of course, they decide what's going to show up on the, show up in front of the legislative body to actually be voted on. So the whole process of getting something out of committee is in and of itself a big part of you know, the politics thing, quote unquote. So again, there's a few different ways that you can sort of make sense of that. One of our fleets is in transit. Yeah, that's fine. This was the replacement, so. But yeah, in any one way or the other, that's just kind of a little way in which those interactions are being modeled. For me, I always kind of like thinking, like I said, Stellaris is probably the most elaborate RPG I ever play. So in these particular cases, I sort of like saying that, or I like having sort of a reason for why I'm taking certain actions, or sort of having a mental model for why, you know, like what's happening when I take certain actions like that. And so for me, I'm just sort of imagining this is the you know, the envoy's working in the background trying to bring about my aims. Okay, so I'd like to grab actually, let's find a habitat. So we've got Subra. Do we have any? No. Looking for habitats that have got Raxarai clerks. Because I bet they're going to want to beat people up as an enforcer. Yeah. Okay, I think the dumb money's gone. I'm actually going to have to work to earn this stuff. That's fine. Oh, an operative resurfaces. A long-expired set of covert codes has just been reactivated. They are linked to operations we previously carried out in the Loxon-Grakva Royal States, from where it could be, from where it would seem a former operative is trying to report back in. The message is light on details, but the code carries markers which signify intelligence on key political figures in a foreign empire. Our security advisors confirmed that the codes were valid until quite recently, but their expiry means that such codes are open to compromise by foreign powers. There's no telling if the operative or their message are genuine. So former agents are to be disavowed. Ignore this or ready an extraction team. I'm a little curious. There's a couple things that I want to see with the Loxon-Grakva Royal States. Because they used to have a... Okay, so it's routine. Yeah, so the difference isn't as big. I should also get my sleeper cells in place and make better use of this individual. So, ready an extraction team. Well, we'll be building those numbers up anyway. What's happening here? Okay, intel falling. That's fine. But I had another. Yeah, Confederation of Zako. Surely. Oh God, what did I just do? Gonna have to reassign them. Yeah, so it was at 100%. Okay, well, they're going to be locked in for a while, but what we can do here is prepare the sleeper cells and put the envoy to better use. I mean, I guess there's other stuff we could try and do, but we'll leave it at that for now. Okay, more citadels to improve. And again, at some point I gotta actually fill these in with things, so. Disavowed operative returned. Our once disavowed operative has made it back to the boys' space. This Loxon-Grakvan individual, who identified himself as Hask Gentar, appears to be nervous and relieved, but has cleared all security verification. After debriefing has been described as... The debriefing has been described as arduous, but the information has proven to be useful. We have now gained access to a valuable asset. With the matter now resolved, Hask Gentar's shaky disavowal will be renewed. Having confirmed that he is no longer missing in action, our current operatives can ensure that this time the disavowal will stick. How is the price for... Yeah, it's still expensive. And it looks like the Techaris are really giving it to him now. So this is the point where I'd consider a settle status quo. If there aren't any enemy fleets to be... Okay, actually there are a few enemy fleets to beat up. But yeah, once there's no more enemy fleets to beat up, we can move on to essentially just rearming ourselves and trying to get to that point where we can vassalize them. All right, we continue on unyielding. So we already did resistance is frugal. Never surrender. We shall fight on our soils. We shall fight in the heavens. We shall fight in the asteroid belts and in the hyperlanes and in the nebulas. We shall fight with growing confidence and growing strength among the stars. We shall never surrender. Orbital bombardment damage is reduced. Lower war exhaustion gain and hostile claim influence cost goes up. So I really went for unyielding just so that I could get a better strength on these, on like the different stations that I'd sort of set up at choke points. But some of these are nice little side effects, so I'm not gonna say no to them. Should figure out what I want to do on this aggro world for the last item.
Preparing planet for resource extraction.
I'll let it sit for now. Okay, so this is exactly what I want to see here, right? This is the Stellaris sort of... Oh! This I don't want to see, though. Apparently the Stellaris are completely ignoring this unit. So I'm kind of out of position here. I'm going to move the science ship out of the way pronto. Like, we'll actually move it out of the way, not
Evading
move...
hostiles.
Oh, for... Like, why? There's no possible reason to go the further distance, but fortunately they're going to be occupied, well, for a little while at least, by the Stellaris. So, like, this is one thing where the AI is sort of like, what the hell are you thinking, dude? Like, they're apparently moving... Oh, they are actually now moving here. But, like, they completely could have... So I think what they're doing is they're trying to defend this unit that's about to die. But, like, why wouldn't you just deal with it when it was in the same system as you? Because, of course, now I'm going to have to go chase it down if they actually try and take this system. Maybe that's what they were planning all along. I don't know. Either way, they're all going to reclaim this. There's no way the Stellaris are going to arrive on time. That actually might cause some problems for me because this is a system that I've claimed. So if the Stellaris get it... Oh, you're kidding me. All right. I could take the fleet that's like dealing with the piracy, but I think I'll just take my lumps here. Increasingly powerful computation paradigms allow us to adapt individual construction projects to planetary and ultra-local gravitational conditions. All right, this is automatically being picked, so... Yeah, so I mean, I went to help the Stellaris up here. The one problem is I can't do settle status quo now because I'm actually not going to have the systems that I want. But these are pretty straightforward for me to reclaim. Okay. Council elections, absolutely no question in terms of whether or not we're going to be on the council, so no worries there. It's really just a question of how long it's going to take me to... Oh, this will be interesting, so... What are they going to do about these guys? Honestly, the longer they just kind of sit around and not do anything, the better, because then I'm guaranteed to get it under my name, but let's see what happens.
Construction complete. Construction complete.
Okay, good. They're claiming it in my name. I'm still gonna, like, reclaim it for myself, but the aim was just to not give... Like, the whole thing here is to make it so that they don't have any remaining ports.
We really
I want to completely wipe out their fleets, because that means a timer starts running for 10 years, where potentially we get into a situation where they don't... you know, where we have enough of a gap to be able to vassalize them. Of course, other people might try vassalizing them too, and then I'll be very sad. But by maintaining a professional core of fleet liaisons, we can improve communications and the flow of orders throughout the chain of command. And we're finally back in shape on the naval capacity. So, let's do capability boosters. And Giga Cannon, even more powerful mass accelerator cannon that can rip through even the toughest shields. And we could do kinetic artillery or devastator torpedoes. We'll go for the torpedoes. Okay, Gruner's got some people. In this case, I'm just kind of throwing the bodies on the planets that have them highest availability. What's going on in Subra? Subra, I've got 2 unemployed Raxar. Okay, so that actually works for me. So I want to start by finding that. I probably should just commit this to memory, but okay. Ducarex needs a... Actually, Ducarex is a really good place to dump all of these guys. But we'll find a colony. The aim here is to find the ones where we need enforcers. So Nadal is a candidate. Castor. Okay, so Zandaban is the first one because it actually has crime problems. And Zygar is actually in the same situation, so this is an easy one to deal with. Okay, meet the new council, same as the old one. Oh, this is interesting. The galaxy seems to be... That would be kind of funny to call in a favor while we're at war. That's really interesting.
Boom. We built something.
It definitely seemed like there was a lot more support for that, so I wonder what changed. And we lost a governor. So there's a couple things that I'm going to want to do on that front, but let's start by assigning new leaders. So normally I would go for a leader with a high experience gain like this, but just the age difference is enormous. So we'll do Army Veteran because I think it's more likely I'm going to have people recruited. Okay, we're getting a little bit better on the crime numbers here. Drifter, hello Chalklord, I hope you're doing well. How's Stellaris treating you? Well, I'm exhausted. I didn't get that much sleep last night. But Stellaris is treating me well. I'm always very fond of playing this game. How are you doing tonight? Oh, did my fleets get back together? 160, 160. Yes, we've got 3 160s. So yeah, this was annoying, but it looks like the Tecarus eventually helped me out. So the one thing I'm a little worried about here is that I may have weakened my opponent so much that we're in a situation now where I actually I've just kind of served them up on a platter for the next empire. One thing I'm going to do here, so notice we're back into naval capacity. So I'm going to have to kick out a few ships, and you know, like this will become sort of my next major fleet, and then I'll just kind of make I'll make another overflow fleet. That's going to be something I have to deal with at another time. But the real question is, what am I going to do with this extra influence? I had to think of a good dump for it. Normally, normally this is the sort of thing I would like. So, trying to think of a good example. Let's find the closest planet. Yeah, this probably isn't going to count. Yeah, so I can't remember if this is because it's a hive world or because they're an ally. So, okay, I'll maybe give you an example. So, people who don't like me. So, Loxongrak Royal States, we're obviously not going to throw a, we're not going to throw a criminal enterprise on because they're just going to extract it from me. If I want to go to war with them again, I have to get rid of those first. I'm not 100% sure how it works with federations. So this unit, actually, this would be the perfect target. So I want to start small. Great. Okay, so we'll establish a branch office here. This is just so that I can get rid of the influence. And for starters, we're not really doing this for the money, so let's do this for the research. I wonder if there's other little bite-sized ones. So basically what I want to prioritize are groups that I'm not going to go to war with. But as you can see, like, the majority of candidates like that are members of the Cosmic Treaty Organization. So I'm going to have to figure out what I'm doing with my influence later. I know edicts used to be an option, but they're all... Yeah, I should probably reacquaint myself with how to use influence again. Okay. They can, but they shouldn't. Alright, this was predictable. I think my wandering fleet should be able to handle this. I'm going to see what happens if I just leave this be.
Complete.
Oh, one thing I didn't notice was the... I should have taken care of the Zro in my borders. I guess it's blocked right now. Yeah. I don't need construction ships with a sense of adventure.
Mining station lost.
Cost of doing business.
What just happened? Revenue's decreasing.
Please tell me I am building that Titan. Yes, okay. So yeah, I'm gonna need to figure out what's going on with those trade routes at some point. Oh, I've got a construction project I can do here. Sorry, Salvage Drifter. So long, hard day here. Finally home. Mom is home from the hospital after pneumonia. Making... Oh, well, okay. First of all, I'm glad... I'm obviously not glad for the fact that your mom needs to be home from pneumonia, but I'm glad that, that they're recovering health. And sorry to hear it was a tough day. I can sympathize, but I'm happy to spend however long I can with you. I am close-ish to the end, but I'm not complete. I'm not going to completely abandon you. I am, however, going to think a bit about this war. So let's think about objectives. I wanted to wipe out the Loxongrak Navy, and I basically did. The one holdout is this battle group of about 2K, so I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. Now, if I take the war to the bitter end, it extends the period of time for my other rivals to grow, and it's delaying the time when I'm going to be able to absorb these guys as a vassal. So the big goal right now is, if we take a look at the relative strength of our empires, pathetic and inferior. Tech-wise, we're actually still on the level playing field, which is slightly maddening. Now, fleet power is probably going to... that's going to go up over the 10-year mark, as will the economy. I think a lot of this lost economy is just because of the loss of the planets. So at some point, like, this is going to... like, they're going to bring back some of the losses. What I'm hoping, though, is that the runway that I've got, that basically they're not going to be able to close that gap fast enough before I'm able to say, okay, you're my vassal now. So let's see whether or not that actually turns out that way. So we'll settle status quo. It looks like I get my stuff, but the Techerists don't. That makes me even happier. But yeah, the trick here is if I see this to the bitter end, it just delays the time when I'm able to get my stuff. And it means that my enemies are growing stronger while I'm just wasting time for no reason. So settle status quo. War goals disregarded and both sides seized occupied claims. Lazy Raxarai wouldn't be any good to us even as slaves. Peace might be the best option after all. Okay, so I might have to boost up some of the some of the defenses or whatever in Soao or whatever, but looks like we're in an okay spot. Now, one thing I do want to do, I need to rearrange some of the... well, actually, it's not bad to have a beastly assembly yard like this, I suppose. But what I do want to do is rearrange some of the pops. So again, if we have any Raxarai clerks, this is the time when they become enforcers. I know that's a waste of money, but it's just easier. So basically, I'm trying to absorb the unemployment on the world that I just claimed. Although I should just take a second here. Okay, so on Kirox, again, if it's a Raxar, clerk, it needs to become an enforcer. Rest of it I can manage. Okay, Faradex. We're good. Ducarex. We're good. Dolok Habitat. Good. Subra. Yeah. Okay, so now we're on to the Gaia world. So again, a lot of unemployment. We may actually wind up selling some of these. Okay, so that's a Rexare clerk. Okay, that was good for Raxar. I think we already did Siluria, but now wouldn't be a bad time for me to just double check. Yep. Okay, Castor has got free position. Oh, yeah, okay. So I want to put as many Raxar on this world just so that I can get the stability in there. It's not a good climate, but I have the new Bale seed to help with that. Okay, Nadal. And again, we've got Raxari clerks, so... Sorry, I got the numbers messed up. Oh, okay. Okay, so I'm feeling a little bit better about where I am on this world as a whole. So we've got at least we've got 3 Raxari enforcers on this world. Looks like there's the option for some priests. We may or may not take that. Like, so the other thing I might want to do is I may want to reorganize this world to, you know, maybe be more in line with some of the things that, some of the priorities I have. However, as a Forge world, this is actually pretty desirable. So I was originally going to use the New Bale seed on a different planet, but I have the option, so... Our environmental specialists are pleased to report that the terraforming process on Calsoch has been completed. The planet has been successfully transformed into a Gaia world. Owing to our deployment of laboratory-created plant hybrids containing carefully selected segments of the Bale genetic code. Once again, as a result of the process, itself not fully understood by our geneticists, a number of new Bale populations have appeared planet-side, emerging when terraforming neared completion. Excellent, more slaves. So that's more unemployment, but we have ways of getting around that. The other Calsoch. Okay, so there is another world that I acquired. One big thing here is that right now this citadel is just shipyards, and that's a real shame to let 426 trade value just kind of go poof like that. So I am going to need to figure out what I do. Oh, actually, my apologies. I did not realize we also had a base here. Okay, so I actually need to go hunting for more Raxari clerks. I might have exhausted my supply, but let me look a little more closer. So, sorry, I was on Faradex. I might be able to take out some technicians too. Actually, you know what? Let's start with that. Not ideal, but pretty sure we've already... Yeah, we got what we need from Gruner. I think Gruner was kind of where the big moves happened. Okay. Just making sure we've got Raxar in the right right positions. We've also got a robot enforcer, so I suppose that's good. So I suppose the big question for this world is... Okay, actually, yeah, we're also full up on jobs. I should have known that because I had an unemployed Raxar. What was I thinking? But yeah, this is good. Actually, if anything, I might want to get rid of the robot assembly plant, because why would I need that? But apparently I can't change that. Fair enough. Anyways, this should deal with any unrest. And I guess, yeah, I'm gonna have to do the same song and dance. All right, I really should have paid attention to. Yeah, really should have paid attention to where those Raxar clerks were. Was it Siluria? Darn it. Can't be Nadal. Okay, it's a start. Again, I'm moving some Raxar to somewhat undesirable jobs, to be completely fair. Not undesirable jobs in the sense of like they're higher quality jobs than clerks. The drawback is that they are on planets that are not the right type. And while it's nice to have the artifact to do that, like I don't have unlimited uses of that artifact. I still have some leftover criminals. Okay, well, if I was worried about unemployment, I suppose that can set my mind at ease. We do still have crime, but that's probably going to resolve itself as... the population grows into it. We don't really have a... Well, maybe we make this another farm world. Oh, yes. Okay, actually, here's what I'm going to do with my new acquisitions. We're going to make sure that it has the ideal template. So I can't construct another district, huh? Maybe we just need some time with it in my possession. Okay, they don't count as valid rival. Okay, that's probably why. Cool. Okay. So I believe the perfect outline was 5 city districts and then the system capital complex. And then obviously habitats were their own deal. So I already owned. Oh, this is offensive. So this is going to create unemployment problems, but we can absorb it in other. We can absorb it in other worlds. God, I've inherited a mess with all of this. We'll actually start by building out the food. I'm okay with the extra generators, so maybe we'll make you an energy grid. We'll build out into... definitely at least one stronghold. I'm okay with the cyto-revitalization center. I mean, it's a higher level one than what I would normally work with, but I can live with I can live with that. This will be an agricultural world. Actually, I can resettle the new Bale here when the time comes. I'm not going to do that now, but having a second food-oriented planet... Well, that's first of all overkill, because we're currently selling our surplus of 70, but still. Also, I need to reconnect everything. Alright, I've also got some construction ships with free time on their hands. Cool. Okay, so that's something approximating stability. I have a feeling that my frontier section's just grown too big. Yeah, so this is a little bit of a pain to deal with. I can't remember how many units away you can be, but I'm pretty sure this is going to have to become its own sector. Maybe we'll give them a governor at a separate time. I got other things I got to worry about right now. So I definitely want to reconstruct those star bases at some point, but I also actually want to build into some of the citadels I've already built. One big thing that I'm going to want to do is make sure that all of my borders are sort of hardened for any anticipated fight. So for instance, Vite, you know, yeah, we've got a citadel here, but it's not defending anything. I don't have any, you know, defensive platforms or anything like that up. Actually, as a starter, maybe we start with the hangar bay missile battery and gun battery, and then we give it the usual jammers, disruption field, and I'm gonna wait on the rest of that actually. But yeah, so I want to make sure Vite, Caster, Takvan, I'm actually probably going to dismantle. No, hang on, because that's going to be protecting my trade. Maybe I'll just say screw the costs and build a defensive structure at Soao. Even temporarily, because obviously the intention is that these guys will turn into a vassal. But basically I need to make sure anything that's by a wormhole or black hole, L-gate, anything like that gets like, I need to make sure that I've got as many defensive structures set up to greet the bad guys. Because the challenge is you've probably noticed the way that I move my fleets. Like, I've just kind of moved them as this big swarm. It's kind of like watching, like, really young kids play soccer. Like, people don't... I was never good at soccer, but, like, you kind of know how when you watch a proper soccer game, like, people stay in their positions and they're ready to react or respond to anything that goes on. Whereas if you watch kids play soccer, it's just like this group, like, you can always know where the ball is because there's, like, you know, just a ton, like, just this mass of child that's, like, clustering around the soccer ball. Or football to the majority of you, actually. I'm pretty sure based on what I know of the demographics, I think the majority of you actually call it football. Thank you, Ilupi. But yeah, I mean, that's essentially how I'm moving moving my fleets here, right? Like, I've even so much so that I'm even allowing pirates to show up within my with my borders, and I'm totally fine with that, right? Like, we have yet to lose a fight, and that includes, you know, triggering the Grey Tempest at the worst possible time. But the fact of the matter is that I do need to prepare for a situation where the AI might decide that it doesn't want to just treat me like a, you know, like it says, okay, well, you know, it's time for System Chalk to win. He's had a tough day and he's really tired. He won't shut up about stuff, so we'll give him the W. Maybe it'll say, oh, okay, it seems like he's wasting all of his time with the Loxongrak Royal States. How about we decide to claim some of these systems in here, particularly for the Miravandi Imperial Sons, because if you want an idea of how hard they can make life for me, Vite isn't actually that strong. It's a 13k defense. Pretty sure they've got a fleet that... Oh, actually, no, I forgot. These guys are a paper tiger. They look big, but I don't actually think they have a navy to back that up. In any case, though, Vite isn't that scary of an obstacle. They blast back into that. There's the Zokarian black hole. Now, it seems like I'm really well protected there. But if I recall correct... Oh, actually, sorry. This does work to my advantage. I was going to say, the L-gate doesn't seem to be affected by the FTL inhibitor, but then it did occur to me that they still can't move through these systems. However, they can just go back through the L-gate. And of course, that allows them access kind of wherever they want. Which, again, admittedly is not really all that close to my territory here. But the point is, right, that I want to actually make sure that if somebody tries to do something... I'm allowed to still follow the soccer ball. I like having my big FU fleet and, just laugh at anybody who gets in my way. But I want to make sure that I haven't, left the back door open. And in this case here, there's a reason why I haven't done it. It's really expensive to build things up to citadels, and there's so many things that I want to build, up to and including more naval capacity. Because, of course, that'll help me with my actually, I think it's population that will determine my starbase capacity. But definitely, naval capacity will determine the number of Titans that I can field. Obviously, more shooty is better. If nothing else, that will just allow me to eclipse more of the entities in here. I am actually also probably at the time where I need to consider wrapping up. I'll maybe try and go a little bit further, but I do want to talk a bit about sort of what the future plans are going to be. Right now, we've got a timer running with the Loxongrak Royal States. So the whole reason why we did that battle was not so much to take this territory from them, although it is kind of nice to be able to get the Stellarite Devourer now. And we're in a little bit of a better position in terms of taking them on. But this is really my attempt to finally turn them into a vassal because they were just too big to swallow before. So what I want to kind of hope for is that this state, it's going to improve, but for the period of time, essentially, I'm going to be counting down until, I guess in my case, I'm the one with the treaty, so... Oh, here we go. Yeah. So in this case here, I'm counting down until 2409-1209. I'm actually specifically counting down 2408-1209 because I can offer them subsidiary status, and that gives me the casus belli for exactly 1 year. So at that point, what I need to do is I need to be able to get that CB. As soon as I do, then I can start turning them into a vassal. I know I can win the war against them, but what I'm not so sure about is whether or not they're going to be able to rebuild their fleet or get their economic power back up enough to be able to cause me to be considered an equal, and as a result be something that I can vassalize. And again, they're really weak right now, so if my my allies, the Nar Consciousness, decide to vassalize them, it's a cakewalk, and I will be sad. I don't think hive minds vassalize that much, though. Maybe they do. But yeah, the next big one, the Cosmic Treaty Organization, while its constituent parts are quite weak, the fact of the matter is they control a lot of the galaxy right now, and I'm largely hostile to most of them. It's going to be unfortunate that the Confederation of Zaco is going to get caught up in this, because they do quite like me, as do the Enlightened Kingdom of Conoramus. But clearly the Miravandi Imperial Sons do not care that much for me. They've got 21 planets, which I would like to turn into my own. Not necessarily through conquest, but definitely through vassalization. So essentially what I'm going to be planning for, whether that happens within the 10-year period, I'm not so sure, but I want to get ready for not just a war, but a war on a federation. Because the Nar Consciousness are my ally, the Techerus Link is my ally, I'm not in a really good position to be able to attack them anyway. Maybe the Nar Consciousness, but we've actually seen that the Nar Consciousness can field a pretty terrifying fleet if it wants to. And yeah, I mean, long story short, my biggest vassalization opportunities are all these weak entities inside, inside this federation. And then if the opportunity comes, if I've become such a large, such a large creature, then I can consider betraying, something like the Techerus Link or the Nar Consciousness, and then maybe we can try vassalizing them or something like that. But that's several steps ahead. What I'm most likely going to want to try to do is do something to Miravandia Imperial Sons, maybe get into range of taking out the Marauders so we don't have to deal with the Great Khan. Unfortunately, there isn't really much in terms of warp or... we've got an L cluster, so I guess we could go from Jebin's Maelstrom to do a hit here. But we don't have very good intel on this area. But yeah, one of the other things to keep in mind is if the Great Khan happens, it might actually be something that beats back the Nar Consciousness. And again, yes, they're an ally, but doesn't mean I'm not sad to see somebody who's higher than me on the council get beaten back. So that's, a little bit more of a long-term consideration. But if nothing else, we know we've got a little under 10 years to try and vassalize the Lox on Grakva Royal States. In the meantime, I'm going to be boosting my naval capacity as high as I can. Might be hardening the borders a little bit. Definitely hardening the borders in like the Vite and these, but also just trying to boost up the anchorages and such. I'll probably prioritize these shipyards before I go too crazy on the naval capacity, just because building more ships is always just that is just going to be a forever hobby. All right, sorry to babble on so much for that, but I do actually think I'm done. Again, I'm very, very tired. I only got a couple of hours of sleep last night, and it would be good to get a proper bedtime. It's almost like 11 o'clock, so I try to be asleep before midnight on work nights, because that way I can get full 8 hours, and obviously I'd like to get a little bit more than 8 because of my losses last night. But Salvage Drifter, I know I didn't get to do a lot of Stellaris for you tonight, so I apologize for that. I will... I don't know. I try and do 3 hours a night anyway, but it's nice if I can give people a little bit more. Now, Johnny Big Time streaming, I think he usually wraps up around this time, though. So... But actually, you know what? Johnny's really fun. So we're going to raid Johnny Big Time. He's playing Red Dead Redemption 2. He actually really... I really want to play that game now that I've seen him play it. He's also very charismatic. He's very different from me. First of all, he streams with the camera. He's got a quick wit. And just generally, he plays like... He's quite active in terms of just the sorts of things that he plays and his responses. Like he's genuinely very, very fun to watch. So I know it's a little bit of a change of pace, but I do encourage you to check him out. If nothing else, check out his clips. He's easily one of the most clippable streamers that I know. And again, he might be wrapping up relatively soon. So if nothing else, you get just a quick chance to see the Johnny Man. But as for me, still no pre-recorded videos for Tuesday. I'll be back Wednesday for more Industries of Titan. We'll probably be wrapping up our run there. And then I still haven't figured out a Friday game yet, but I've got a couple of good ideas for it. So I don't know if we'll start that on Friday or not. But I'm going to have something set up for that. And Conan's, thank you. Thank you, everybody. I'll see some of you in a week. I'll see some of you Wednesday. Take care.